Forget the gaslight. I'm choosing the... I don't want to do this right now. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I am here to review season 15, episode 10 of The Real Healing Housewives, who are not really healing, of Atlanta. We start the episode off at Drew's house and her husband Ralph, he's making this big brunch for her and the cast. And I feel like this is his way of buttering up Drew for later on, where she finds out that he went to Vegas to do who knows what with who knows who. And this is just his way of saying, I'm sorry, before he does anything. So then Drew, she comes in with this really nice blue and green suit. She's looking at his food like, wow, Ralph, it looks amazing. I guess I don't have to divorce you after all. He's like, oh, no. We're still gonna get a divorce later on this season, but we need to save that storyline for later. Then he starts kissing up to her again by saying, well, you know what? Today, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't even have to get gaslit by me. Not today. Maybe tomorrow, but not today. Today is all about me and all the men. We're all gonna cater to you and all the women. And I'm like, okay. So then the first guest that were to arrive is Kandi and Todd. They come in, they hug, followed by Courtney and Bryce, who I guess he's gonna be showing up as her +1 to the couple of events, even though they're not together, but they're together, but they're not together, but whatever. So then Courtney, she tells Kandi, Kandi, this is Bryce. He's the father of my child, and he used to be in Groove Theory. You know that song, tell me what you want me to. You know Bryce, right? Like Bryce, this is Kandi. You know Kandi, the iconic Kandi from The Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? That's him, like that's her. You know him? That's Todd Tucker. So then Kandi, she already knows, or she's familiar with who Bryce is, obviously because he used to be in the music industry and she's still in the music industry, so obviously at some point they must have crossed paths. But Kandi in her confessional,
I don't really understand why somebody like Bryce will be with somebody like Courtney. Courtney is just a little bit too much, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And sometimes the opposites attract, right? But Shereè comes in next and I'm expecting her to be with Martell. No, I don't. But she's by herself. But I'm thinking, okay, maybe Martell is getting something from the car. Maybe he's taking his time to get into the house. Let's give it a second, right? Hey, Shereè, hey. Let's give it a minute. Maybe he's a slow walker. Let's see. But nothing ever came from it. Shereè's just by herself. No Martell. So surprise, surprise. Speaking of by herself, Kenya, she comes in next. Roy's not with her, but we'll get to that. Everyone takes a seat at the table, and the next couple to show up is Marlo and her date from 2 episodes ago, Scott Lee, and I was happy to see him again on the screen. So they show up, and Marlo looks so good in that one-piece pink bodysuit. Scott Lee, he looks handsome as ever, so they walk in together. They both look good together. Kenya already being a hater. Kenya was really rubbing me the wrong way this whole entire episode because you could just tell, like I've been mentioning before, you could just tell that Kenya is just over this whole show. She's over this whole cast. She does not like filming with any of them besides Kandi, maybe Moneta, and she's just above all of this. At least that's what I feel like. Her vibe with the rest of the cast, it just does not mold well. Kandi, she also comes in second place. I feel like Kandi's just there just to be on the show at this point, and it's just another paycheck to her. And again, I'm not saying that Marlo is no angel either, but like, because the first thing that she says about Scott Lee, like, oh, Scott Lee, what is he wearing? Like, really, that's what you show up in? I guess La eBay, La archive. La eBay must have been closed. Boo, Kenya, boo. But okay, so then Marlo, it was so interesting the way she introduced Scott Lee to the other women at the table. Like, oh, Scott Lee, these are the housewives of Atlanta. And I'm like, oh. Way to break the fourth wall. What is that? But, okay, so then Scott Lee, he introduces himself and then he goes into the kitchen. The first thing he tells all the men, hey, everybody, I'm Scott Lee. Yes, my name is very Jamaican. I'm like, okay. So then Scott Lee, he puts on his apron. By the way, I didn't notice that the apron said, call me daddy in the kitchen. Ralph, I believe he's now selling them on his Twitter account. So if you want one, just go to his Twitter and there's a link to it. He has a picture of himself wearing it without a shirt underneath. So, there's that. So then we have Moneta. All right, so she comes in with her husband, Chris Bassett. He also joins the men in the kitchen. Sonia then asks Marlo more about Scott Lee, and Marlo tells them, well, you know what, Scott Lee, he's very, very, very sweet to me. He's very nice, and we click very well. So he's a really great guy. So then Kandi speaks up and says, oh, he works at that restaurant Continental, right? So they're all looking at her like, wait, how do you know Scott Lee? How do you know where he works? Candy's like, oh, well, I just know of him because that's just public information, right? And then Candy in the confessional, she's a little shady towards Marlo by saying,
It's so funny seeing Marlo and Scott Lee together because that's not really her type of guy. Usually Marlo goes after somebody who gives her money before they do anything sexual. Whore behavior.
and I'm like, no, Candy, let's not talk about whore behavior, Miss Dungeon. So then Kenya, she tells Candy, oh, so what's going on with the movie that you and Todd are producing? The past. So then Candy, she gives a brief summary about the movie, like,
Well, you know what? The movie's about a woman turning out another woman who's innocent and foolish.
and I'm like, and Todd wanted Drew specifically for this role? What kind of twisted fantasy he has going on in his head, Candy, but I will be watching and supporting. So regardless, Kenya's like, wait, what about me? I want to be a part of the movie. I want to be a part of this. Why don't you give me a script so I could try out for the role? I'm good with threesomes. Apollo and Phaedra. But no, Kenya, she has a past of being in a movie called RHOA. Candy tells her that the role has been filled already with Drew, and she says in the confessional because Drew, she plays innocent and dumber a little bit better than everybody else, which I guess is a compliment to you, Kenya. Kenya gets a phone call from the guy that she's dating, Roy. Moneta trying to insert herself in the situation. She grabs the phone and she picks up for her, and I'm like, okay, Moneta. So then Kenya, she picks up and she's like, oh, hey, Roy, how are you? And then she turns the phone around to everybody else to say hi to them. Marlo, she gets a glimpse of him and she's like, wait a minute. Hold on, Kenya. Is that Roy? Is that the guy that you're dating? So then they're like, yeah, that's Roy. Why? What about him? Marlo, then she drops a big bomb on her and she was just like, wait a minute. I used to go out on a date with him too. We went out on a date together. Like, Marlo, of course you have. And Kenya, she knew that she did not want to give Marlo a moment, so she pretended that she didn't hear Roy. She was just like, hold on, Roy, I can't hear you right now. Fuck, Marlo's trying to put me on blast and trying to embarrass me. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna get up, okay? So she gets up and she walks away. Again, she probably, deep down inside, she probably felt some type of way, but she's not gonna give Marlo that type of satisfaction to see that she obviously got underneath her skin. Who knows, maybe it really truly didn't bother her, but she walks away to talk to Roy, and Marlo, they're all looking at her like, Marlo, wait, what's going on? How do you know Roy? And again, what a small world, right? Because Marlo, she goes on to say, well, you know what? I was filming a movie. I was filming something with Cynthia Bailey. Oh, Cynthia Bailey. I was filming something with Cynthia Bailey, and Roy, he was following me on Instagram. He replied to one of my stories saying, oh, you should wear this bodysuit, Miss Marlo. And I'm like, wow, Roy, so let me find out that you're Peter Center Peach Thomas, number 2, and that you're trying to get yourself on the show to promote your business, housewife to housewife. Could you imagine, though, if Marlo would have told Kenya, oh, that's Roy? That's the guy that you're dating? Wow, yeah, no, me and him, we used to fuck before in the past. I'm pretty sure that Kenya probably would have lost it. She would have flipped that whole entire table and the whole brunch would have been finished. But Kenya, she's off talking to Roy, Sonia in the confessional. She's like, wow, Marlo, of course, she used to date somebody that Kenya is dating now. What a coincidence. Drew, she's like, who wants to be with somebody who dated Marlo in the past? Who knows where she's been around? Drew, who knows where your husband has been around? Obviously you don't. Obviously we don't either because we still don't know why he was in Tampa. So Marlo in her confessional, she is so happy that she got a one-up on Kenya. She's like, enjoy my leftovers, bitch. So then Kenya, she comes back and she's like, yeah, that was Roy. And Marlo, again, she wants to continue pushing it a little bit. And she's like, oh, well, you know what, Kenya? It was just one date. I wasn't really feeling him. I mean, he's just there, but it wasn't nothing. And, I know that Marlo is just trying to make it seem like, oh, yeah, he was just another option to me. I turned him down. That's what she's trying to make it seem like, oh, he chose you because he couldn't get with me because I didn't allow it. So then Kenya, she reverses it and she's like, oh, well, obviously he didn't work out with you because he knew what not to go after. He knew what to go after with me. Obviously, this is the top choice. Obviously not a top choice enough for him to be at this brunch, but regardless, eventually then Shereè, she flips it over on Drew out of nowhere. And she's like, so Drew, she's whispering because she's about to talk about one of her employees. So Drew, there's rumors or whatever going around that you don't pay your employees. And I'm like, Shereè, I know that this is not the, what's the saying? This is not the pot calling the other pot broke. or whatever the quote is, because Shereè, you have some nerve. It's like Shereè just says things out of her mouth and she doesn't realize that it also applies to her. Like, we have heard countless rumors about you in the same position, yet you want to question somebody else about, first of all, you want to question Kenya about her man, that he's not here, yet your man isn't here either, because the second that she said, oh, well, you know, Roy, I don't really think that that Kenya has this man. I really don't think that he exists. And then what does Drew say? Where's Martell? He's sick. So Shereè is just so delusional, and I just don't think that she really sees that. Drew says that she has somebody come over to cook for her, but she refused to pay her because she found some hair in the food. Now the woman is suing her for $1,000. Everybody starts laughing at her like, wait, $1,000? Really? Like, is that much trouble? So then Shereè, she turns it over to Courtney, and you know Courtney is so excited to be talked to. Courtney, I'm so excited to get to know you more on our trip to Portugal, our healing journey. Courtney, she's so excited, so she tells Shereè, oh, I'm so excited too. I'm super excited. I'm so excited. I'm gonna be listening to Groove Theory the whole entire plane right there. I'm so excited. Hopefully I get a peach for next season. I'm sorry, Candyman, you are gonna be best friends by the end of this trip. And Moneta, she's just sitting there like, what about me, Shereè? Aw, Moneta. So then Kenya, she tells Courtney, I mean, I get it that you're a crisis manager, but I mean, you didn't really fix that crisis between you and Candy. So then Courtney throws it back at Kenya, and she's like, oh, well, of course you would notice that. And I'm like, ooh. Kenya, you're just gonna let her talk to you like that? So then Kenya's like, oh, well, you know what? I don't really need a crisis manager right now. My whole life is a whole crisis right now. And then Courtney, again, she threw it again at her. And she was like, oh, yeah, no, I know. We could tell. I'm like, wow, Courtney, okay, maybe somebody could give her like a slice of peach for next season. A little slice, a little tiny one, not a whole big one, but a little slice one. Like, she could be in the intro, but like be far to the left, like all the way over here where we really don't see her. She really had nothing else to say, so she tells Courtney, Courtney, can you please not touch me? Don't touch me, please, because this is your third time touching me. I guess Courtney, as when they were talking, she kept touching her arm or something. And I get it. Kenya was trying to set a boundary like, look, we're okay, but we're not like super besties right now to the point where you could touch me. We still have some type of animosity between us. And Courtney's like, no, I was never touching you. I wasn't touching you. Kenya's like, yes, you were. Yes, you were. Drew, out of nowhere, she jumps in it and she's like, yeah, respect her boundaries, please. And I'm like, Drew, how about you respect your own boundaries with your own marriage? Let's start there first. They wasted no time getting this trip to Portugal on the go. So they're all packing up their stuff. They're getting ready. They're at the airport. They're flying out. It takes 8 hours. Candy, she has food poisoning. So she's in the bathroom for like most of the trip, or at least 3 hours. And it's already bad enough you can't trust Ralph in a marriage or in a relationship. Now you can't trust his food either. Like, pick an issue, Ralph. So Candy, she's not feeling well. She almost didn't make the trip. And in the confessional, Marlo is discussing this like, wait a minute, was it number 1 or number 2? So then the producer, they actually tell Marlo, oh, it's number 2. Marlo, she's like, that is so nasty. Like, Marlo, what? It's first of all, the women on the show already shit on you, no pun intended, every other episode, and now you're calling this nasty as if you don't do it as well? Okay. They get to Portugal, they're on the bus. Kenya, she's not feeling it. Again, she's not looking forward to listening to Shereè and this whole speech about healing. We all need to heal. You know, we're all gonna come back as a group together. And I'm looking at Shereè like, if you really wanted healing, the first thing you should have done, Shereè, was cut off Martell completely. But you wanna go on this healing journey, but also attach yourself to Martell, knowing his past and knowing what he brings to the table. Yeah, you wanna heal. Okay, so they get to the hotel, and the hotel is so beautiful. It is huge, just like a resort. And of course, it wouldn't be a nice, beautiful moment without Marlo talking shit in the confessional. She was just like, oh, you know what? This hotel is so beautiful. It's much better than Kenya's Motel 6 that she had us in. I mean, she does have a point. But it is beautiful, and Shereè's taking all the credit, like, oh, you know, this is luxury. This is how you do it when traveling with me. And I'm like, you mean the Bravo producers and production team, but okay. So they get to the resort, they're taking shots, champagne. Marlo, she tries to talk to Candy like, oh, maybe you should take this shot right here. It makes your stomach feel better. Candy's still not feeling well, so they sit down to rest. Moneta, she's on the phone with her husband, Heath. She's showing him around. They're all telling him hello, like, oh, check on our husband too. Check on Ross, check on Todd. Drew, she quickly sneaks it in there, quickly, as if we won't notice. Oh, hey, Heath, make sure that you check on Ralph as well. He's in Vegas right now on a work trip. trip. Anyway, I'm so excited that we're in Portugal. We're gonna have so much fun. And I'm like, wait, hold on. No, Drew, let's bring that back a little bit, because what do you mean he's on a work trip to Vegas? What is he doing there? And why is there a work trip in Vegas to begin with? Drew, this is why I say you need to worry about your situation first before judging Marlo and who she's with or who she used to be with, because now, Drew, she was just like, oh, well, this producer, that worked on my music video. And of course, there's always the sneaky bitches around you that want to see your downfall. She's like, oh yeah, there's this producer that worked on my music video. She saw Ralph and she actually wanted him to try out in Vegas for this show that she has going on that she's producing called Chocolate City, the black version of Magic Mike. And I'm like, wait a minute. I already know the premise of Magic Mike, so I see where this is going, and she wants them to try out. Why? And then Drew's like, in the confessional, she's like, oh, every time I go out of town, of course, my mind goes to Ralph and what is he doing in a different city when I leave, of course, but I try not to think like that. And I'm like, no, you do need to think like that. Unfortunately, when dealing with your husband, and they're all looking at her like, wait, what? She wants him to try out for what? Like, what's the reason? Like, so he's just gonna be taking off his clothes, stripping, doing what? Showing his what in the crowd without your permission, or what's going on here? Again, they're all so confused. And Marlo, she's like, you know what? Honestly, I can't really see him doing this Magic Mike show. I can picture Heath doing it better than him. And I'm like, Marlo, now wait a minute. See, I was with you till this point. Heath, Moneta's husband? Absolutely not. Let's not take it too far. You just got somebody now on the show. Relax. In conclusion, Ralph is probably in Vegas on a stage, taking off his clothes, topless, maybe even naked, giving people lap dances, dancing for money, having money being thrown at him. He's probably doing who knows what on that stage with no dignity, no class, no pride, no self-respect, no nothing. Like, I can't believe that. But with that being said, Drew, what times and dates are his shows? Because I want to go. Time to do my research and buy some tickets. Everyone is settling in their nice hotel rooms, and then we see Drew and Moneta having a conversation on the balcony. Moneta's telling her that the view from where they're standing at, south from there, is Africa. And then she asks Drew, have you ever been to Africa? Drew, she's like, no, I've never been there, but I've been to South Africa before. And I myself, I am not good with geography whatsoever, so I can't even judge her answer, so I'm just gonna skip along from that. But Moneta, she does let us know that she has an orphanage in Africa. And it's such a shame that Moneta, she has all these things on her resume. She has all these things that she could bring to the table as a full-time housewife, yet I'm still just not interested in it. I just don't know. I just feel like she's missing something, and I don't know what it is. Again, she has every factor that you need as a housewife, but she's just kind of there, and I'm not really sure if it's because the way they edit her out to be like she's just there. She doesn't make her presence known. She's kind of just there in the background, and it's such a shame because I like Moneta. But we also see Kenya and Candy on the balcony, and Kenya's talking about her divorce to Mark. That's not really going anywhere as usual. Candy, I'm pretty sure that she spoke for the rest of us when she told Kenya,
you know what, Kenya? I'm really tired of hearing about this divorce of yours for 3 years.
Finally, Candy. And Kenya's like, yeah, so am I. I mean, I'm living through it, so I'm sick of it too. And, Candy goes on to ask her, do you feel some type of way that Roy went on a date with Marlo? And Kenya, I don't think that Kenya, even if she feels some type of way, I don't think that she'll ever get, like I said before, she'll ever give Marlo the satisfaction on camera to have that on camera and say, yeah, it bothers me. So of course, Kenya's like, no, it doesn't bother me at all. It's whatever. Besides, Roy, he told me that he did go on a date with her years ago and it was nothing. It's whatever. She also threw it out there that unlike Marlo, Roy doesn't have to pay her for pussy. And I'm like, wow, Kenya, okay, but speaking of, then we see Marlo. She's eating with Sonia in her room, and Sonia's trying to question, like, okay, why was Kenya so upset that Martel, Shereè's man, if that's what you want to call it, he slid into her DMs, 2-3 years ago. She made a whole big deal about that at the party. But now that you told her that, that he slid into your DMs, it's no issue. She's not throwing the big tantrum. And I mean, Sonia does make a good point. Why isn't Kenya getting upset about it? Maybe I'm not seeing it from a different perspective, and I believe that Kenya unfollowed Sonia on Instagram today because she's really upset with her comments of her talking behind her back constantly every other episode when she kind of agreed to her a couple of episodes ago at the Gucci brunch. Like, okay, I don't really trust you like that, but we're gonna try to work on our friendship. But Sanya, it seems like she keeps being a snake behind her back and keep talking about Kenya behind her back to Marlo. I mean, obviously, Sanya, she already chose her side with Marlo, but you also want to call her last week and say, oh, can you be the MC at my charity event? And you have Kenya raise you all this money. And then what do you do the next day or on this trip? You're talking behind her back to Marlo, her enemy. So you just can't keep it cordial, Sanya. So she unfollowed her on Instagram, and she's also been tweeting about Kenya. She's been tweeting about Drew because she's upset at Drew's comments in the confessional earlier in the episode. And oh, Kenya, what type of resume does she have in the acting world? I just don't understand. And Kenya, she tweeted saying, you know, I'm really disappointed in Drew because when her acting and music career disappeared, I never threw it in her face, so I can't believe she would say stuff like this. So obviously, you know, at the reunion, you know, Drew is one thing, but Sanya, ooh, I feel sorry for you. Good luck. Everyone starts getting ready for the first night out. They get on the bus, they get to this restaurant, they're at the table, they're ordering drinks, tequila, food, tequila, more tequila. Shereè, she does this whole speech that's not gonna matter in a couple of minutes. She goes on to talk about healing, peace, this journey about healing our friendship. We all have to be nice to each other. Again, Shereè is saying this, right? This is coming out of her mouth. And then Courtney, she decides to fix her issues with Kenya, or at least the issue that Kenya has towards her. And she tells Kenya, you know what, Kenya, I really want to talk to you about our issue that we had. You know, I didn't know that we had an issue, but apparently we did because at the brunch, you know, you said something about don't touch you or whatever. I never did anything to you, so I want to know what happened between me and you. Kenya, you know, I'm so disappointed in Kenya because, you know, I said it before, she's my favorite housewife out of all the housewives, but Kenya is just, like I said, this whole episode, she was really rubbing me the wrong way. She was just looking into the knife, like looking at her reflection, not paying attention, like, yeah, I'm too good for this cast. I really don't care right now. I just want to collect my Bravo check and not interact with anybody. What, Courtney? Like, that's the energy that she was coming off with, like, just very dismissive. And I get it that Courtney wasn't a fan favorite the first 2-3 episodes, but I feel like she kind of redeemed herself. I mean, we're already on episode 10. She hasn't really done much, you know, to ruffle anybody's feathers or to get anybody pissed off or anything. She's been cool. She's pretty nice. And I do feel like she's coming from a genuine place. Again, it could just be me. I'm not sure. And Kenya's just choosing to just be dismissive because she feels that she's kind of over her. She doesn't want to give her a moment. And I truly feel like Kenya, that's her mentality this whole entire season. She does not want to give anybody a moment. Not to Marlo, not to Courtney, not to anybody. The only person she wants to talk to is Kandi. So Kenya, she goes on to say, well, I told you that I just didn't want you touching me because at first I thought it came off like, okay, it was cute, but then I felt like you were kind of being condescending. And I'm like, condescending? I mean, again, maybe I'm just looking at things from a different perspective, but I don't see how Courtney was being condescending to Kenya at the brunch. If anything, you're the one that started with her by saying, oh, you're a crisis manager, but you know, we don't need a crisis manager right now, or you couldn't fix your crisis with Kandi. You started that whole interaction, so don't be upset that she responded to something that you threw out there in the first place, Kenya. So Courtney had nothing else to say, and she kind of just dropped the issue. I don't think that her or Kenya are going to be friends in the future, nor does Kenya even want that, nor is she even going to give her the opportunity to come close to her in that aspect. So then Drew, they continue eating or, you know, talking or whatever. Drew, she tells Shereè, you do know that Courtney is my family, or at least Ralph's family. I don't know why she keeps assuming that Courtney's related to her. So she's like, you know, she's my family, and she came up to me and she told me that you were kind of discussing my lawsuit, my issue that I have going on with this chef or whatever behind my back, and I don't appreciate that. Shereè's issue is that the second that anybody holds her accountable for anything or questions her about anything, she's so quick to open up her mouth and say the first thing that comes to mind without trying to, you know, hear the person out or anything. She never wants to say, you know what, I messed up, you're right, I'm sorry. She just always wants to place blame on everybody else. And Shereè is also another of my favorites, so I'm not sure what's going on this episode. So Shereè, she goes on to say, well, you know what? I didn't appreciate that you kept going on interviews and going on, you know, whatever, and basically, you know, saying that I'm a liar, that I had to take back all my She by Shereè line at the reunion. And I'm like, Shereè, why are you bringing that up when you and Drew talked this whole issue out a couple of episodes ago at the spa? Why are you bringing this up now? I just don't understand where Shereè mentality is with this. And Drew even called her out on it. Like, look, we discussed this already. We moved on from it. I thought you healed from this. What's going on? Shereè, she was just like, well, I guess I haven't healed. Like, that isn't that so funny? We're on a healing journey in Portugal, all the way in Portugal. You know, we're here to heal this healing journey. Shereè wants to heal so badly, yet she's telling Drew, no, I guess I can't heal. So it's just like, what's the point, Shereè? What are we doing? Like, she picks and chooses what she wants to heal with. Like, I'm gonna heal with this, but I don't feel like healing with that. I'm gonna heal over here. Like, just the mess. And Shereè and Drew just kept going back and forth with this. Like, Shereè's just like, oh, well, you don't like it, right? You don't like how it feels, right? And I'm like, oh, so that's the bigger motive here. You want to hurt Drew the way she kind of hurt you. And again, Drew, she could possibly be lying. I could understand that. Like, she could possibly be lying about the whole, you know, she took back her She by Shereè line. But Kenya and Candy and Sonia even, and Sonia's on your team, they even confirmed it in the confessional. Like, yeah, they did take back the She by Shereè stuff that you gave out at the reunion. And if that is true, Shereè, shame on you. That is so embarrassing. And then we see Marlo's perspective in the confessional, and she has on every single piece of She by Shereè. She has on the hat, the shirt, like, she's just so annoying. And she was just like, well, you know, I can't complain. I got like 5 or 6 pieces from the She by Shereè line. Like, Marlo had me dying with the hat sitting on top of her hair like that. Like, what are you doing? Of course, she gave you all the pieces. You and Shereè are close, so of course she could give it to you anytime. But, you know, she was like, you know, I can't relate to anybody, and that's that. So Drew, she keeps trying to tell Shereè, you know, how can you heal when you can't even heal your damn self? You know, you want us all to heal, but you can't even do it for yourself. And again, like I said, Shereè is just a big hypocrite because you're just doing this whole tit for tat thing for what? You're trying to hurt Drew by bringing up her lawsuit now just because you feel some type of way about what she said about you. Something that both of you already fixed a couple of episodes ago. Why are you trying to, you know, dig that whole issue back up now? I don't understand where she's going with that. Eventually, Shereè, she's not taking accountability for her hypocrisy. So she just continues eating, taking shots, whatever. Drew, she starts getting extremely emotional for some reason. And you could just see it in her face. Like, she's about to have a whole nervous breakdown. She's probably thinking about the whole Vegas residency with Ralph. She's probably sitting there like, he's probably swinging his dick right now in Vegas and I'm over here fighting with Shereè. That's probably why she got emotional. So she gets up, she storms out, she starts crying. And then this is how you know that Shereè is in the wrong, when Marlo is telling her. Marlo, out of all people, is telling Shereè, you need to go. You need to be a good host because you just hurt her feelings. And what does Shereè tell her? Well, my feelings are hurt too. Like, Shereè, goodbye. Like, just a mess. And Shereè goes out to try to, you know, see what's going on, and it's left at a awkward to be continued. And I'm like, we didn't really need it to be continued, but that was that. You know, this is the way we're starting the whole healing journey with Shereè, huh? But speaking of healing journey, you know, let's talk about somebody who does need some healing from those couple of fists to the head. Let's talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac, because I saw the clip. I'm pretty sure that we all saw the clip now of Cookie Monster and the new friend of the show for next season. I mean, I hope she's still a friend, because at this point, Bravo might just terminate her contract. Kiana, I believe her name is. They got into this crazy brawl, like a physical fight at a club. I believe it was for Giselle and Ashley's clothing line. We'll discuss that when the season comes on because, but anyways, but you know, regardless, I believe it was Cookie who threw a drink at Candace, and Candace, she was kind of dancing and she turned around. She grabbed a huge champagne bottle. I don't think that she was really gonna swing it on anybody. I think she just kind of grabbed it at a reflex and somebody grabbed it away from her. And then next thing you know, the Cookie, she threw the whole glass cup at Kiana's face. Kiana pushed her. She started swinging on her. They both started swinging on each other. I was very impressed with both of them keeping their balance on those high heels that they had on, specifically Cookie Monster, because she had on these red bottoms and it was just a mess. And at first I thought it was Giselle in the green yellow neon dress, that she grabbed one of their hair and she pulled both of them down and everybody just went down to the floor. I'm thinking, not Giselle. But it wasn't. It was somebody else's friend. I believe it was Ashley's friend. But it was a hot mess. I cannot believe that happened, but I wonder if they'll use any type of footage for that for next season. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. And I'm also reviewing The Real Housewives of New York, season 14. You know, it's a whole different cast, so I don't have to watch the old season or any of that or any of Ramona's bullshit, you know, to catch up with this season. So, and let me just say this now. If this is the direction that Bravo is going in with rebooting their Real Housewives of whatever city, then I'm here for it. And New Jersey, you should be very afraid because you should be the next one in line. But we'll discuss that in the review. But let me know what you all thought about this whole episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.